Barcelona, 1974. A man sits strapped to a chair in a prison courtyard at dawn, and he knows exactly how the next 3 minutes of his life will unfold. Not 3 seconds, not 30 seconds, but a full 180 seconds of conscious, deliberate terror as an iron collar slowly tightens around his throat. This is the garrote, Spain's gift to the art of killing slowly. And what makes it truly special is that it's not some medieval relic we're talking about. This happened the same year Richard Nixon resigned, the same year Stephen King published Carrie, the same year people were watching Happy Days on television. While the rest of Europe had moved on to more civilized ways of being uncivilized, Spain was still crushing windpipes with Victorian machinery, and they did it with the casual efficiency of a bureaucrat stamping forms. The garrote wasn't just an execution method, it was a statement. A middle finger to modernity wrapped in Spanish tradition and Catholic righteousness. And the worst part? It worked exactly as designed. Let's be clear about what we're discussing here. The garrote wasn't a quick snap of the neck like a proper hanging, assuming the hangman knew what he was doing, which half the time he didn't. It was at the swift slice of a guillotine that at least had the decency to separate your head from your problems in under a second. No, the garrote was methodical, mechanical, and obscenely intimate. Picture this. You're seated in a wooden chair, your back against a post, and an iron collar is placed around your neck like some grotesque piece of jewelry. Behind you, an executioner you cannot see begins turning a screw, and with each rotation, the collar tightens. First, your jugular veins compress, trapping blood in your skull. Your face turns purple. Your eyes bulge like a cartoon character, and you feel your head inflating from the inside like an overfilled balloon. You're still completely conscious. 10 seconds pass, maybe 15, and the collar tightens further, now crushing your carotid arteries. The oxygen stops flowing to your brain, and you fade into unconsciousness. But this isn't death. This is just your body's merciful shutdown protocol kicking in. The executioner keeps turning because his job isn't finished until your trachea collapses, your cervical vertebrae crack, and your body finally admits defeat. The whole process, from first turn to last breath, could take anywhere from 1 minute to 5, depending on whether the executioner was in a hurry or feeling philosophical about his work. The Spanish loved to claim the garrote was humane, a word they wielded with the confidence of someone who had clearly never been on the receiving end of one. Compared to what, exactly? Compared to being drawn and quartered? Sure, congratulations on clearing that impossibly low bar. They argued it was more dignified than hanging, which was considered a commoner's death, shameful and degrading. The garrote, they insisted, was reserved for nobles and serious criminals, a distinction that somehow made slowly strangling someone to death more respectable. It's the same twisted logic that made beheading with a sword the premium execution package for aristocrats, as if the method of your murder determined your social standing in the afterlife. By the 17th and 18th centuries, the garrote had become Spain's signature execution style, a tradition they clung to with the same stubborn pride other countries reserved for their cuisine or folk dances. Public executions were community events, festivals of death where families brought their children, vendors sold churros, and wine, and thousands gathered to watch a human being's final moments become entertainment. The condemned would be paraded through streets, priests would offer last rites, and then the main event would begin in whatever plaza had been designated for the day's killing. The device itself evolved over time because apparently even execution methods need product updates. Early versions were simple. Just a post, a collar, and a screw. The kind of thing a reasonably talented blacksmith could hammer out in an afternoon. By the 18th century, Spanish engineers had refined the design into something almost elegant, if you can use that word for a murder machine. The classic model featured a sturdy chair, often with armrests to keep the condemned from thrashing too violently, a vertical post rising behind it, and an articulated iron collar that opened like a grotesque necklace. The screw mechanism was the star of the show, a large threaded rod that the executioner cranked with deliberate precision. Some later models, because Spain was nothing if not innovative in the field of institutional killing, included a metal spike positioned at the back of the collar. When the executioner gave the screw its final turns, this spike would pierce through the back of the neck and sever the spinal cord, theoretically speeding up the process. Theoretically. In practice, it just added another layer of horror to an already nightmarish scenario. The knowledge that you weren't just being strangled, but potentially impaled as well. The Spanish called this upgraded version the Garrote vil, reserved for common criminals, while political prisoners and nobles got the spike-free model, a distinction that surely brought great comfort to everyone involved. Rafael del Riego learned about Spanish hospitality the hard way in 1821, when he made the fatal mistake of trying to liberalize an absolutist monarchy. This liberal general, who had the audacity to think constitutional government might be a nice change of pace from tyrannical rule, led a failed uprising and found himself seated in Madrid's most uncomfortable chair in front of what witnesses described as an enormous crowd. Some wept for him. Others cheered for the monarchy, and Del Riego, to his credit, refused to give anyone the satisfaction of hearing him scream. He died with dignity, which is about all you can hope for when your neck is being crushed by a machine designed specifically for that purpose. His execution became a rallying cry for liberals, proof that the regime was barbaric, though it would take decades before anyone actually did anything about it. Meanwhile, the garrote kept turning, kept tightening, kept killing, because why change a system that works even if works means efficiently murders political dissidents? The 19th century brought penal reform movements across Europe, enlightened thinkers suggesting maybe, just maybe, torturing people to death in public squares wasn't the hallmark of a civilized society. Countries started abolishing capital punishment entirely, or at least moving executions behind prison walls where polite society wouldn't have to watch their breakfast while someone died. Spain looked at these reforms, shrugged, and kept right on garroting people in public. They did make one concession in 1832, standardizing that lovely spine-piercing spike we mentioned earlier, ostensibly to make death faster and less painful, which is rather like adding a pillow to an Iron Maiden and calling it comfortable. The device now came in two flavors: Garrote vil for regular criminals and Garrote noble for political prisoners and aristocrats, because even in death, class distinctions mattered. This commitment to tradition would carry Spain through the rest of the century and well into the next, long after their European neighbors had moved on to more modern forms of state-sanctioned killing or revolutionary concept, not killing people at all. Then came the Spanish Civil War, that delightful 3-year bloodbath from 1936 to 1939, where both sides discovered the garrote was an excellent tool for eliminating political opposition. Thousands died by mechanical strangulation, Republicans and nationalists alike taking turns strapping each other into chairs and turning screws. When Franco emerged victorious and established his fascist dictatorship, the garrote found its true calling. For the next 4 decades, Franco used it to crush dissent with the same methodical precision the device used to crush windpipes. Executing someone by garrote instead of firing squad sent a message. You were not a political combatant worthy of a soldier's death. You were a common criminal deserving a criminal's end. During the 1940s and 50s, thousands met this fate. Their crimes often nothing more than opposing Franco's regime, or being suspected of opposing Franco's regime, or knowing someone who opposed Franco's regime. The dictator defended the practice as preserving Spanish tradition against foreign liberal influence, as if strangling people to death was a cultural heritage worth protecting like flamenco or bullfighting. The case of Las 13 Rosas, the 13 Roses, epitomizes Franco's use of the garrote as political terror. In 1940, 13 young women, most barely out of their teens, were accused of participating in a conspiracy to assassinate Franco's officers. Their actual crime was probably just belonging to socialist youth organizations, but Franco wasn't particularly interested in evidence. They were garroted at Las Ventas prison in Madrid. These teenagers and young women in their 20s, seated one by one in that chair collars placed around their delicate necks, screws turned by executioners who went home afterward and presumably ate dinner and slept normally. Their deaths became symbols of regime brutality, though it would take decades, and Franco's death before Spain officially acknowledged what everyone already knew. These weren't executions, they were murders with paperwork. As decades passed and the world evolved, Spain remained frozen in time, an authoritarian museum piece still using Victorian execution technology, while the rest of Europe debated whether capital punishment should exist at all. Between 1961 and 1975, 49 people were garroted, a number that horrified international observers who couldn't believe a European country was still doing this. The pressure mounted, human rights organizations pleaded, and Franco responded by executing more people because that's what fascist dictators do when criticized. Salvador Puig Antich, 25 years old, anarchist, convicted of killing a police officer, became the second-to-last victim on March 2, 1974. At 9:40 in the morning, he was seated in the chair at Barcelona's Modelo prison. The collar was placed, the screw was turned, and for 3 minutes witnesses watched a young man die slowly while doctors stood by with stopwatches. Death was confirmed at 9:43. Protests erupted across Spain and internationally. But it was too late for Salvador and too late for the other man garroted that same day at a different prison. They would be the last, not because Spain suddenly developed a conscience, but because Franco finally died in 1975 and took his beloved garrote with him. The transition to democracy brought swift changes. The 1978 Constitution prohibited capital punishment for civil crimes, though Spain hedged its bets by technically maintaining it for military crimes during wartime until 1995, just in case they needed to strangle a few soldiers. The garrotes were removed from prisons, some destroyed, others preserved in museums where they now serve as somber reminders that humans are remarkably creative at finding ways to kill each other slowly. You can see them today in Barcelona's History Museum and elsewhere, these mechanical ghosts from a not-so-distant past, artifacts that force uncomfortable questions about how barbarism persists through political inertia and nationalist pride. The Spain that killed Salvador Puig Antich is gone, replaced by modern democracy that recognizes those executions as the state murders they were. But the garrotes remain, silent witnesses in glass cases, teaching future generations that moral progress is possible but never guaranteed, and that the distance between civilization and savagery is sometimes just the turn of a screw.